Hola, Ship Familia. Welcome to the latinXfactor Partnership Dedicated Webinar, where we highlight our partners and learn all about their organization. I'm Dr. Dora Renaud here at SHPE National, and our show today is Innovation, Engineering, a Dialogue with Carrier. Our special guests are the senior Carrier technical and engineering leaders, along with members of their Cheer, Hispanic, and Latin ERG. This esteemed panel will share some of the engineering innovations Carrier has produced, as well as the unique Carrier paths and opportunities that are available to the company. So as we continue celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month, I want to welcome the Carrier team. We are very excited to have you join our show today. So Malbin, I'm going to have you introduce the team. Welcome, everyone.
Yeah, welcome, bienvenidos. Welcome to Carrier's first webinar, hosted by the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. Hi, my name is Malbin Mendoza. I'm part of Carrier's global engineering staff, and I'm delighted to see so many of you taking the opportunity to learn a little more about our company. We have designed this presentation to give you some insights regarding Carrier, about the products that we manufacture, and most importantly, to share with you the perspective of some of our leaders in engineering, manufacturing, and legal departments around a discussion in topics of innovation, technology, and excellence. To get started, I'd like to share with you a short video about Carrier, about our products, and about the values that are at the core of the Carrier way. Let me share this. All right, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. Now, let me introduce to you Mr. Luis Lopez Moncada, Executive Director, Supply Chain. Luis?
Thank you, Malbin. Good afternoon, all. It's with great pleasure that I'd like to explain a little bit about what we do in Carrier regarding the Hispanic and the Latinos community at Carrier. As part of the HHM celebrations, we would like to welcome you to this forum. At Carrier, we continuously drive to a more diverse and inclusive environment. With this in mind, some time ago, about a year ago, we started this journey of forming this Hispanic Latinos employee engagement group at Carrier. Over the last 1 year and some months, we have reached out to every single site at Carrier, and we have now about 350 members and growing. Next slide. Our vision is clear. We want to be a community that inspires, that attracts, and that connects Hispanics and Latinos in Carrier. We are a company with over 40,000 employees. We have about 40 plus sites globally. And just in the US, Canada, and Mexico, we have a very vast footprint where the talent and the growing population of Hispanics and Latinos employees in Carrier continues to demonstrate value and add more to the values that we carry at Carrier. So in this journey, we have assembled a very strong team of members. We have structured this community of employees to be able to deliver value to our cheer members. As I mentioned, with 300 plus members already enrolled, we continue to grow, and we continue to make this type of activities where we promote our talent, we promote our diversity, and even within the Latino and Hispanic community, we try to enrich ourselves with the different cultures and the different countries and the different traditions that we have in our own families. Next slide. So as I mentioned, this has been a journey, and I encourage you to get involved in this type of activities. In Carrier, we continue to look for areas of opportunity. We continue to look for areas to grow our talent. We have come a long way, and we continue to look for areas of growing this talent within Carrier. Next. To give you an example of what we are doing this month, we have prepared a fair amount of activities that will help us not only to continue to enrich our culture within the Hispanic and Latino community, but also to outreach to other allies. To give you an example is this upcoming Friday, we have our kickoff event. We have recruited top executives at Carrier and our sponsor Indy 500 race team, Mr. Tony Cannon, to join us in a discussion about the opportunities for Latinos and Hispanics in the US and in general, how to overcome obstacles and become a celebrity like he is in this race. So within Carrier, there's this cheer family. So I hope this gives you a very quick look at what we do in a large company like this in taking care of our employees to encourage and promote diversity, not only diversity of ethnicity, but also diversity of thought, cultures. And I hope this helps to one day, if you join Carrier, and I hope to see you within the cheer team moving forward. So with that, Malbin, I bring this back to you. Thank you for joining, and continue to celebrate the Hispanic Heritage Month like we are doing in here. We are very excited for this, and stay tuned as our partnership continues to grow, and we will be doing more activities like this. Thank you.
Thank you, Luis. So as we move into the discussion segment of our presentation, I'd like to introduce to you our guest speakers. Please welcome Chris Kmetz, who is our Senior Vice President, Central Engineering, Diana Morales, Vice President, Legal, Stella Oggianu, Director of Engineering, and Alan Ugalde, who is an Associate Director of our engineering organization in Mexico. The discussion will be moderated by Dora. And so before we start, I'd just like to say that if the discussion generates any questions or you would like more information about any of the topics that were raised, please feel free to write your questions down in the chat. And at the end, as time allows, we'll respond to a few of those questions. So thank you, and Dora, go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say real quick that video was amazing. There's one statement that really stood out: redefining what's possible. So I enjoyed that video. So Chris, the first question is to you. How would you describe the environment for innovation at Carrier?
Great question, Dora. And look, I'll sum it up in one word: it's exciting. You know, we like to refer to ourselves as the 102-year-old startup. Last April Carrier Corporation separated from United Technologies, who had been our parent company for many, many years. And that was a great partnership, but spinning off from UTC gave us at Carrier the opportunity to kind of redefine what's possible. What's possible for Carrier? You know, it's up to us now to decide what Carrier looks like in the future. And so, you know, we have a commitment to growth. We have, you know, our own independent shareholders now that expect that we're going to continue to grow the business. So from an engineering standpoint, that means investment. And as every engineer knows, when the company is investing, it's fun times for engineers. So it's been really exciting. You know, we live in a world where climate change is becoming more and more important. And honestly, the HVAC business that Carrier is a huge part of is one of the folks that really needs to take on this challenge if we're going to change the trajectory we're on from a climate change perspective. You know, our systems consume about 40% of the energy in cities and are responsible for about 15% of the greenhouse gas emissions. We've got to change that. And so, you know, when I think about innovation, it's not just engineers getting to have fun, but it's about engineers developing solutions that matter for people on the planet. And we really take that to heart. It's in the Carrier way. It's something that we all take very seriously in terms of our charge to now go forward and do what we can to help protect the environment. So in areas of the environment and sustainability, we're continuing to invest. You know, we've made a commitment that we're going to save our customers more than a gigaton of greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. And that requires continued investment. We need technologies, we need innovation. Stella will talk about that. We need to be investing in electrification. This whole COVID thing has showed us that, you know, the built environment needs to be healthier. And, you know, guess what? HVAC and fire and security systems in buildings are the perfect platforms for Carrier to help building occupants understand what their built environment looks like. So lots of excitement in terms of the innovation in Carrier around what we can be doing differently to develop solutions that matter going forward and helping our customers actually meet their commitments as well.
Hey, thank you, Chris. You know, it is such a critical time for those developing solutions and being able to pivot and changing that trajectory. So that's so critical. So thank you for sharing that. Diana,
Hello.
how do you ensure a culture of entrepreneurship within a well-established company like Carrier?
Yeah, I actually love that I get this question because I'm not an engineer, I'm in legal. And I think most of the time people don't really connect those two things and say, well, you know, what can other functions other than engineering help in this regard? And I think it's really important for us on the legal side, just as it is for everybody else, because, you know, like Chris mentioned, you know, we were part of United Technologies for a long time. Being a part of United Technologies, we were a little bit more conservative. And once we spun and we are our own company, as about 18 months ago, there's just been a huge push, right, to change our culture, to be more entrepreneurial. And that affects all parts of the business. So not just engineering, but legal. And I think legal has always been a real partner to the business. We've always wanted to be close to the business, make sure we're doing whatever we're doing is actually enabling the business to reach its goals and its objectives. And part of that is being entrepreneurial as well, and being open to taking on more risk, you know, working with the business to understand those risks and create sort of this risk profile where we can then help the business align on what risk is acceptable and what is not acceptable and push that forward. I think many times our department is kind of viewed, or there's this perception, right, that legal is the department of no, you can't do this, or that's too risky, or let's not do that. And I think what sets our lawyers apart, our entire legal staff apart, is that we're not the department of no, it's the department of tell me more about it. What is it you want to do? Let me figure out how to do this so that we can mitigate and minimize risk, but let's do it, right? So, so a lot of it is, you know, talking the talk. You do need to have a vision. I mean, Dave Gitlin, our CEO and chairman, very early on set that tone. We want to move fast. We want to innovate. So there is talking the talk and setting that vision and getting people excited. And then there's the walking the walk, which is the investment, the actions that we take to really make that happen. So you really need both those things to happen. And like Chris said, at Carrier, just the last 18 months, we've hit the ground running and we're still running.
Very exciting there. All right, so we're moving on to Stella. So you're Director of Engineering, is that what I?
Is Director of Part of Engineering, a team that we call Innovation and Technology, the coolest part of engineering.
Yes, and our audience are all engineers pretty much.
Yeah.
So, very important question for you, Stella. What's the role of your team within the Carrier organization?
First of all, I wish I could see all the 40 something 50 people that are on the other side of the camera. Hi, everybody. So I am going to reintroduce myself. I am director of a small but very important team within Carrier Engineering, that is innovation and technology. And the question is, what is the role of this team? So tied to what Diana's question was beforehand, right? Be the entrepreneur within the company is very important that we look at the future and we continue innovating and we are not caught off guard. So the pace that the world moves is amazing, fast. There are thousands of startups trying to make their way into the market. The pace is tremendous, and Carrier wants to continue leading the way. The only way that we continue leading the way is to make sure that we continuously monitor and we create what's coming as not just as new technologies, as new business model, as new system integrator. So my team's job is continuously being alert and make sure that we identify technologies, solution, business models, system integration that can make a difference to Carrier in the present and in the future, and to our customers, that we prioritize, that we pilot, and we speak to all the functions, right? So it's important to have intellectual property. So make sure that we have freedom to practice. So our relationship with intellectual property is extremely important. Make sure that we have all the functions identified here, but also work internally with Carrier, as important as working with our university partners, working with other startups, working with other companies, working with what we call incubator and innovator. So working with the external ecosystems on creating solutions as fast as we can, prototype, and the difficult part of it is having an insertion point into the market, because there are an amazing amount of technologies and solutions that can be inserted into the market. So prioritization is extremely important, and this is what my global team does. Some of the areas that we are working on, Chris hit them, and I don't want to extend too long, but important solutions around sustainability, around healthy buildings, around service and servitization of our products and services, electrifications, cool things such as how to avoid the grid altogether, how to minimize our energy and carbon impact, and how to live better. So I am extremely excited, and I invite everybody that is on the other side of the call to really, really take a look, because the amount of things that we do and how we do it is impressive for every type of engineering and every type of function. So I'll get it here.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. There's so many moving parts within your team. Very, very exciting to hear all of that. I know we just recently, we have an entrepreneurship track at the convention, and we just added that one component of the intellectual property because it's such a critical part of the entrepreneurship role. Okay, so Alan, how are you? Next question is for you. How does Carrier introduce innovation into its operations and factories?
Thank you for the question. Hola, everyone. Let me introduce. I'm the Sustain Engineer Manager located in one of the facilities in Monterrey, Mexico. So pleased to be here, and as well, thanks for the invitation to talk to each of you at this time and at this moment. So, I mean, that's a good question. When I talk on my perspective, from my background, and on the engineer of R&D, I can say when we talk of and think of innovation and in operations, always have found that Carrier is constantly mastering its products and services into cutting-edge technology that brings states of art and almost everything we do. So this remains important for us as well to bring and keeps our factories and operations up to the latest technology that allows to produce and come with solutions and products that takes the right quality and as well provides at the right time. So as we can spot from the latest innovation in technology being done into products that has launched and introduced as a response to the current pandemic, I mean, to mention one, I mean, as we provide safer indoor air quality environment, and from all of these as well brings innovation in every angle and every corner in our operations of the factory. From having one of the highest standard on safety, as well on ethics and business, our people as well constantly looking in ways to innovate and bring the newest technology as fast response to its operation and factories to build and produce the, I mean, as I had mentioned, I mean, the highest quality products at the right time. I can say now more than ever as Carrier, we constantly invest in our teams to form a common DNA on everything where we feel a common DNA on innovation. I mean, where we feel safe to take risks, try new things and different, and all of this with a high passion for customers. I think this brings a very exciting time from everyone else. I mean, and being part of this organization. I can say from a request, as Chris mentioned, I mean, one of the points here of act fast, we look to incorporate from the latest technology and everything we can do. Think about automated process. I mean, thinking on cobots, designing specific to work alongside humans, as to mention an example in operation, these are investment that has come to us as well. I mean, to enhance and mastering our products. But I can say it's not limited to extend to everyone. Is motivated to continue innovating in products, process, and everything we do. From highest technology, from the world our engineers to provide from specific applications. I mean, all those new technologies, how we incorporate into our product. I mean, how do we customize a single customer special requirement? I mean, even if there's one, everyone is looking to there to disrupt with sustainable solution every day. So all of this is brought by a diverse team from the most experienced senior development engineer with a young professional as you, as every one of you. I mean, we'll start this journey. I mean, all of these ideas are important for us, and I can say are considered and count in everything we do. So if I respond this simple in a way, I mean, there's continued investment, but as well, innovation is not as matter of one single element or point here. Is every one of us. So I mean, that's what brings it, how we bring innovation to our factory.
Okay, thank you for sharing. Okay, Chris, I'm going to come back to you. What do you think is important for SHPE members to know as they look to start their careers in engineering?
All right, so I'm going to start with an apology because I'm getting a note that my internet connection might be unstable. So if I cut out, I apologize. I'm having a connection issue if there's a problem. So I'm also going to start with a quick poll. How many of the panelists knew exactly what they wanted to do when they were graduating from university? Probably none, right? You had some idea what you were interested in, what you thought you might want to do, but very few people know exactly what they want to do when they're leaving university. So look, I graduated as an aerospace engineer and I thought I was going to go to work for NASA. And I met with the NASA people and found that that really wasn't what I wanted to do. And so I ended up spending 29 years working on jet engines, and that was great. I found something I was interested in, and I tried stuff. And that's the first couple of steps that I would recommend to new hire engineers. Find and pursue something you have an interest in, and then once you're there, try different things, because you can't possibly know exactly what you want to do. So move around, look for those opportunities where, okay, now that you've developed some proficiency, some capability, you might have an interest in a slightly different area. Go and try and talk to people that do that work. Find a mentor, find a coach, someone that you can talk to and bounce things off of that can help you understand what it's like in different parts of the company, especially within engineering, because there's so many disciplines and so many different opportunities. The other thing I would say is ask questions, lots of questions. Look, I came to Carrier after a long time in aerospace, and I think the engineers are probably tired of me asking questions, but that's how you learn. And I'm not afraid to be the dumbest guy in the room because I don't know. Thank God I'm surrounded by some of the smartest people on the planet to keep me honest, but we all get better when we ask questions and when we admit that we don't know what we don't know. And then finally, after you've been through that process, develop a passion. And for me, that passion at this point in my career, this point in my life, is around sustainability. It is what I am obsessing over at this point. The environment and sustainability is where I'm spending the bulk of my time, because right now it's just so important. We've got a tremendous engineering workforce, roughly 4,400 engineers that are working day in and day out to deliver products for our customers that are differentiated from the competition. They don't need me doing that. They need me thinking about, okay, where's that next sustainability solution going to come from? How do I work with Stella and her team to identify those frontier technologies that are going to be truly disruptive for the entire industry? And so that's where, at this point, I've put my energy, my passion around sustainability and environment so that I can help protect, Carrier so that we're around for another 102 years. And finally, I guess if there's one more point, be open to what life throws at you. You never know where the twists and turns are going to take you. You just need to be open to it sometimes and accept the fact that you can't control everything. I know we all wish that we could, but there are sometimes forces at play that have a different idea of what we should be doing and when we should be doing it. Being open to those possibilities. I wish that was the one piece of advice someone had given me when I was starting my career, because I was kind of fixed and kind of stubborn in terms of following my path. And there were some times when I think it was being suggested that life was going to take me in a different direction. And, you kind of wish you'd take that path sometimes. So that's my advice for new ship engineers. And of course, apply for the Carrier Engineering Leadership Program.
Okay, great tips there. Develop a passion. All right. So let's see here. Diana, I'm going to come back to you. So in your legal role, how do you balance between the tight processes, the regulations, the policies that can really slow down that innovation?
That's one of the biggest challenges I think we have in the legal department, because the reality is that there are laws, there are regulations, and more each day actually that we need to be aware of and comply with. So that's just full stop. That exists. But as I mentioned before, we're part of a company that needs to push the envelope, see how far we can push that envelope. And how do we do that, right? How do we reconcile those two things? And how do we create a balance where we continue to innovate, but we do it in a way that we feel good about, right? That we're not crossing any lines, but that we are pushing those lines. That's okay. And so, myself, my team, it's really important that we have excellent communication with our business partners, that we, like I said before, that we understand what it is we're trying to do, and that we have those fulsome conversations around well, why do we want to do these things and how do we do it and what are the options that are available? But at the end of the day, we really have to have that alignment, with our senior management, actually alignment, sideways and vertically, right? All around in terms of how much risk are we comfortable taking? And so, our risk tolerance, I think, is much higher now than we were before, in the sense that we are ready to take on more risk than we have been in the past. And that is a message that has been communicated from the highest levels down. Now, we need to understand that risk and we need to plan for it, because there will be times that things won't work out the way we hope they would. And so, everybody understanding that, everybody kind of holding hands on those decisions, so that if and when that happens, no one's taken by surprise and everybody says, okay, we knew this could happen and we accepted that risk. That is really critical. And that's part of, my role and the people in my group, is being able to explain that risk in a way that is understandable, right? Not too technical, not too much jargon from a legal standpoint, and that we can really have a good conversation about how far are we willing to go. And if things don't work out, are we okay with the consequences of that? So it can be done. We do it every day. Things change pretty quickly too. So we have to be up on all of the changes that are happening. We're constantly working with our outside legal firms. We're doing research internally to just make sure we understand how some of this is changing so quickly that by the time you make a decision or you think you understand it, things have changed again, right? So we have to be as nimble as our business. We can't just sit down and kind of take our time with these things. We have to be agile and nimble as well, but we also have to balance that with making sure we're giving the business the information it needs to make the best decisions it can.
Okay.
Thanks.
All right, Stella, back to you. What's the relevance of diversity within your innovation and technology team?
You know what is to be blind? If we only have one view, we are blind. So we need everybody with all the backgrounds, all the aspects to be considered globally to be good at what we do. We cannot be selfish. We cannot believe that one person knows everything and have all the answers, but we also are a customer-centric team. That means that innovation cannot be done if we don't understand our customers, if we don't understand regulations, if we don't understand different parts of the globe, if we don't work with a really multidisciplinary teams of engineers and non-engineers, and we don't understand a multidisciplinary team with engineers, not engineers, people of different backgrounds, gender, age. So basically, it's essential that any innovation and technology team, especially with the global company as Carrier is, we serve hundreds of people of hundreds of countries. And it's like, we cannot survive in a global innovation environment without having the representation from everybody and every culture. And we also internally gain a lot, because with time, the people that work in multicultural teams, multidisciplinaries, with everybody background, become better people, because we understand much better each other, because we speak. And by being better people, better engineers, we permit that culture of respect and ethics in other parts of the organization. So it's essential, not just in an innovation team, to cover all the sites and not to be blind, but also it's essential to any global company in the global globe where we are, is to learn from each other, to understand, to respect, and to have a company which values respect for each other and ethics, and that permeates into the sustainable products that we create. So we cannot live any longer without that background and without this understanding. So the world is changing and we are changing, and we welcome it. And we welcome everybody that is here to check it out again.
Yes, so important right now, especially during Hispanic Heritage. So thank you for sharing that. Okay, Alan, what opportunities or challenges does innovation represent for a rapid production environment?
Thank you, Dora, for the question. I've been thinking of this, and definitely I can say, I mean, for all my time in career, every day that I come to my office and work, I always comes with a set of mind on thinking how to do things better, different. So I think that keeps me motivated, but also as well brings some of the question when we live in an environment that mass production and every single minute, second count in our operation as we produce and try to deliver products to customer. When we try to introduce innovation, and the question that always comes to us as engineers, that this brings potential disruption, and obviously, I mean that's a challenge that we, I mean, look at. But I think as well, this keeps the fun as an engineer. I mean, for everyone, for all of you that are in this path or in this role that emerged in terms for having a visual idea, concept to go and follow all the way to get it then into an actual product and service that you can see it, touch it, and see what reality comes to that. I think that this as well, I mean, brings us in a point that we continue making and looking to make investment in our operation. I mean, bring the courage of technology, but as well, I mean, how do we serve better our customers? So, I mean, I like to think that as a corporation individual, we need to take part of our responsibility. I mean, to continue enhancing whatever we do in our job and our day-to-day, but as well keep us learning. I mean, this is, I think, an important thing that we need to have and realize in our mind. I mean, every day there's a new opportunity to learn something new and do things different from what we have been doing. So I think all of this keep us very excited as being part of the organization, and whatever role we play, we know is part of all of this.
Okay, thank you, Alan. Every day, new opportunity to learn something new. Awesome. Okay, Malbin, do we have any questions out there that you want to?
Yes, actually we do. We have one question that's addressed to both Stella and to Chris. And the question is, how are we keeping track of disruptive technologies within the healthy building space? There are competitors such as JCI also working on something similar. As a follow-up, how are we making sure we hit the market on time in the healthy building space?
Stella, you want to start?
Yes, I'll start. So healthy building space so answering the question of competitive advantage is not different to any other area that we work with. So the world is becoming extremely competitive. So we continuously monitor what's going on in terms of trends, tendencies. We continuously have everybody engineering and not engineering, creating a list of new opportunities. We continuously work with legal to understand our competitive advantage and competitors. We continuously partner with university incubators and startups to make sure that we have the best teams and we have the know-how, and continuously speak to people like Alan and Malbin about creating pilot products that as soon as we can get injected into the market with a priority, because the resources are not infinite, neither for us, not for Johnson Control, not for Honeywell, not for Trane. So we have to be extremely sharp of who is going to be the first in the market, how, and make a real impact to real people's life. But it's a multidisciplinary effort, and it's a global effort just to be first with the right products that make the real impact. So, Chris, I'm sure you have a lot to add to that.
Thank you, Stella. So I'm going to take everybody back to March, April of 2020, when we were just starting to feel the impacts of COVID. And middle of March, we were all kind of sent home. Workspaces were closed down, and so we were figuring out, okay, what's the new normal going to be? As we did that, the carrier engineering team started working on a couple of side jobs. We have a really strong innovation group up in Syracuse, New York. And you guys might remember that, in the April timeframe, there was a big concern about the availability of ventilators nationwide. And New York in particular was suffering because they were one of the cities that was hardest hit up front. Our innovation team in Syracuse actually built a prototype ventilator in the event that we needed to step up and help, in the event that the Defense Appropriation Act had been invoked, forcing us to kind of allocate some production capacity to help the cause. We actually came up with a ventilator design and had a prototype that was working. We ultimately decided that wasn't where carrier was the best fit, but in just 3 weeks, we converted one of our existing fan coil HVAC products into a combination air purifier and negative air machine. And what a negative air machine does is it takes the air inside an isolated room, like in a hospital, and sends it through a HEPA filter and actually reduces the pressure inside of that room, so that room, if it contains infected aerosols, those infected particles aren't allowed to leave the room. The negative pressure keeps it in that room. We did that in 3 weeks, and it really shows, when the carrier engineering team wants to go do something in the healthy building space, we can make stuff happen. And we were recognized as that being one of Time Magazine's 100 best innovations of 2020, something we're really proud of, because we just went and did it because we saw the need. That was the launch of our healthy building engineering activity. And from there, that was kind of a springboard for us, where we got organized around finding solutions for the various business units. We had a product launch not too long ago called Abound, which is a full up building extraction layer where we take all of the building data, and it includes indoor air quality data, and we turn that into a score that the building manager can use to assess their building versus other buildings. And you want to provide confidence to people going back into a building. You show them a green dot that says your building looks pretty good compared to everybody else. Again, that was a software as a service solution, something carrier hadn't done before, but our digital team took it on, and we delivered, prototypes in just months. And so, we got really good at understanding what was happening in the markets in the healthy building space. We've got a great scientific advisor in Dr. Joe Allen from Harvard, who kind of helps us to see where some of these trends are, especially in the science. Stella mentioned university partnerships. We've got great partners with some top researchers in the healthy building space. We're doing applied research there so that we're at the forefront, and we're not chasing the competition, but we're leaning forward, and we are looking for the solutions that aren't developed yet. We've got a great suite of healthy building products that are already out there. To be honest with you, the competition's chasing us, and that's the way I like it.
Yes, in fact, when all this topic came, a lot of the things that were not advertised too heavily, that were part of our portfolio, really stood up. But we have a great number of air handler units and ventilation and air purifiers and monitor systems, and all of that was not, the world was not paying attention, suddenly became something that was extremely relevant. But we already had, I would say, 95% of what the world needed. Carrier already had within our portfolio for commercial and residential buildings. So we were there.
And,
We
and
were
the
there.
other thing that I'll say, and this was in partnership with the legal team. There were some, there are people out there that are trying to take advantage of the healthy building movement with some solutions where the science is a little bit questionable, I'll say. And, I'm really proud of the Carrier team, the way that, the engineers and the business unit and legal came together to say, yeah, this looks like an interesting opportunity, but the science doesn't work. We're not going to do it. We're never going to put forward a solution that we can't be confident in from a health and safety perspective. And, it was some difficult conversations, but we came to the right outcomes because we were able to have that, that open, inclusive dialogue where everybody had a seat at the table. So I consider that a real win for us.
I didn't even know that there was a healthy building movement.
It's
Amazing.
it's pretty big, Dora. I'll say, and it's expanding to healthy homes now too. And what's interesting is the amount of education that, we're starting to participate in to help people understand, what's in their built environment. Over the last 5 years or so, there's been a lot of investment in research in indoor air chemistry. And you might not like to hear this, but some of the worst things that you can do for the air quality in your home is burn scented candles. People hate it when I say that, but it's like one of the worst things you can do for the environment. So blow out the candles, and put a monitor in your home and start learning, what are the volatile organic compounds that are in your home? There are chemicals that come off of furniture and carpeting that are introducing pollutants into your built environment. And that awareness is really important. One of the things that we launched in the healthy building space was an indoor air quality monitor. And we gave one to the CEO to try out at home. He brought it home, he plugged it in, and I would say like 4 hours later, I got the text message, "Why is this thing red?" And it was around dinner time. So I said, well, clearly it's Steph's cooking, his wife. So we had a laugh about that. But I said, no, look, seriously, if she's cooking in the home with oil, you are going to see this thing light up because that's producing volatile organic compounds. And it's at a level where you want to open a window or turn on a fan or, start up the HVAC system if it's not running and get that fresh air in there. And so, we had this conversation with some leaders at AHRI, and one of these guys said, yeah, that my monitor goes red whenever I open up a really good bottle of Cabernet, and it's everywhere. So there's a lot of education that we have to do yet, but we've got some really good partners there, and convinced that over time with more and more understanding of what is actually in the built environment, people will get a much higher comfort level.
Okay, well, if you need anyone else to test it out, I'd be one of your guinea pigs.
Done.
I hope this is being used with schools as well. I guess that'll be a next step. As a former principal,
Absolutely.
to see that, be a part of it.
In fact, one of the findings from all the research that has been going on for years, right, but very few paid attention, is the productivity and the cognitive attention that comes when you have volatile organic compounds, poor ventilation. We all know the factor of carbon dioxide, but this is an area that has been, I would say, under explored, but not paying too much attention until the pandemic came. Before that, it was more on smart buildings and intelligent connectivity and communications, but the area of how buildings affect our productivity, our cognitive functions, especially those that are schooled right now, it is tremendously important. So we are paying attention And for sure, there's a new next generation of product that will come out of this to help all of us get through.
And you mentioned schools specifically. We've actually partnered with the University of Colorado to do some studies in some of their school systems. And the nationwide estimate is that roughly 65% of schools have inadequate ventilation, sorry. And getting back to what Stella says, that impacts cognitive function, especially in kids. And so what we found was that by installing improved filtration and increasing ventilation, getting more fresh air in, we could significantly improve the quality of the air in those classrooms. And the net effect of that is higher standardized test scores and less sick days from both the students and the staff. And so it's a real measurable impact. There's a lot of research that's starting in this area because it's been an area that's been underappreciated for a little while, but some very interesting things to come in the education space for sure.
Happy to hear.
Okay. So I think we have time for one more question, and this one is addressed to Chris as well. Can you discuss how healthy buildings relate to health equity?
Somebody getting at another one of my newfound passions. It's interesting. We partnered with the International Well Building Institute as part of our Healthy Building initiative. And one of the things that came out of that was the opportunity to participate in a health equity council, where there's been a lot of debate around how do you assure that going forward that everyone has access to a healthy built environment. And I kind of got on a bit of a kick that when we talk about healthy buildings, we do need to be thinking about healthy buildings for everyone. The school system that we studied in Colorado, one was in a very affluent neighborhood, and the ventilation in that school was great. But what do you do in some other inner city areas? And one of the districts we studied in Colorado, they didn't have the same level of funding, and you could see it in the environment. And so now take that to a larger city, like a Chicago or New York or Philadelphia or Miami. And what do you do with those schools that don't have that same access to resources? Shouldn't the children in those classrooms have the same ability to compete on equal footing because they have the same air quality in their classrooms? And so we've had a really big push in our Healthy Building program to help those school districts understand how they can access the funding that's available to them through some of the federal programs around infrastructure that's been released. Because we really think it's important that there's an equity component to this as well. We would love it if they bought Carrier HVAC equipment or Carrier OptiClean machines or room air purifiers. But the reality is, if we educate them and they now have access to funds to get that environment to a better level, that's a win for us as well.
Great. Thank you, Chris. Wonderful answer. So we're about 6 minutes to closing here. Wanted to share some information regarding some of the career paths that we have here at Carrier before we close the session. So let me share my screen here. So I'll refer you if you want more information about Carrier and some of the career programs that we have. Visit our website, corporate.carrier.com/careers. And there you'll see some of the programs that we offer: internship programs, engineering graduate hire program, and the engineering leadership program that Chris mentioned before. There's also some other tracks in the leadership program. There's operations and finance. But there are a variety of programs from 10 weeks internships to a 1-year engineering cohort to the engineering leadership program, which is a 2-year with a rotation, 8-month rotation at various sites of Carrier's business. So
Yeah, and Malbin, I just want to add that if you are out there, to all the participants, and you decide to give Carrier the opportunity and join Carrier in one of these ways, know that you're doing it with the knowledge that there's a community of Hispanics and Latinos at Carrier that will welcome you. And we're working every day to make sure that our members in CHEER, in the Hispanic and Latino community, are welcome and they have a career progression, and all the activities are around that area specifically. So if you decide to try us out, which I encourage you to do, there's a very vast, talented team in here in the engineering community, on also knowing that we have this Hispanic and Latino family community that will welcome you. Thanks, Paul.
all right. So Dora, any parting words, or we have about 3 minutes left.
I do, but I want to hear some parting words from you guys, and then I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
I just want to thank everybody for participating. Thank the other panelists. This was a really good discussion. Thanks for the questions. And I'll close by wishing everyone a happy Hispanic Heritage Month.
Bravo.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go, Ship Familia. Please join me in thanking the Carrier family. We appreciate your participation in our show today, but we especially appreciate your partnership for more than a year now. And Ship Familia, just remember that Carrier will be at our virtual career fair. And a reminder that our national convention is coming up in Orlando, November 10th to the 14th. So make sure you register for that. And a last reminder is that this show, along with all of our other latinXfactor shows, will be on the SHIP National YouTube page. Carrier, I learned so much about you guys today. I had no idea that you are definitely at the forefront of this critical innovation that really impacts our survival, our health, of that, not only in the workplace, but in schools as well. So thank you for all that. So signing off from SHIP National. Buenas noches, stay safe and well.
Gracias.
Oh, gracias.
Adiós. Gracias.
Gracias.